Remember your why. Don't don't forget why you started coaching, because I think at the end of the day, if as coaches we lose sight of that, then anything else we're trying to do won't matter. If you don't believe in it, you're not going to get athletes to believe or buy into it. So you definitely have to be strong in your vision, know what your vision is, build a culture so unbreakable that the athletes coming in will be able to tell other athletes coming in, this is not how we do it in our program.
And we are live. Welcome to the Volleyball Coach Podcast. I'm your host, Alejandro De Mendoza. I'm a club director, coach, and someone who's passionate about helping players, coaches, and parents grow in the game we all love. Each week, we break down training, mindset, performance strategies with some of the best athletes, coaches, and experts in volleyball. The goal is simple: to give you tools, stories, and insights you can use right away, whether you're competing as a player, leading as a coach, or supporting as a parent. Today, I'm excited to be joined by Dr. Anitra Brockman. She's the head coach. She's the head men's volleyball coach for the University of Maryland Eastern Shore. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Alejandro. I appreciate you having me on today.
No, it's like we talked about a little bit before. I'm super excited to have you. Historic, the first NCAA D1 HBCU to launch a men's volleyball program. You're starting it literally from ground zero. But why don't you talk a little bit about your background before you became the head coach of this program?
Yeah, absolutely. So my background's a little unorthodox than most of my colleagues. I did not play volleyball at a high level. I did not come from a volleyball family or anything like that. I actually played volleyball. I was first introduced to it when I was in middle school, which we're not going to say how long ago that was, but 7th and 8th grade, I played volleyball, but I was actually a better athlete in softball. So my parents made me choose. So softball became my sport. It wasn't until I had my own children that volleyball popped back up. And so my now 24-year-old daughter started playing when she was in middle school. And I said, you know what? I'm really intrigued, want to get back, my interest in this sport. And so she needed a club coach. And I was like, you know what? This is the best way to jump right into it. She played on a 14-5 regional team and they couldn't find coaches. And so I was like, I'll do it. So that's kind of how I got, I guess my toe wet back into volleyball. But then I really started after that first year with her. I was like, I really want to do this. I'm really into volleyball, want to learn more about it. So I decided to become a student of the sport and just hone in on learning everything that I could about it. And then coached her through high school. And then my son came about and he picked it up at 10. He started playing, and that's when I gained my interest on the boys' side. And I just all of a sudden it was like, now I'm coaching a high school team, and now I'm coaching not regional teams any longer. I'm coaching, American and national teams. So it my interest just continued to grow, and then it became a passion. It was Now it's not I just want to do this on the side. It's I really want to make a difference in these young people's lives on and off the court. And I started feeling like it was a calling, and I started getting that itch of, could I possibly be a college coach? And, got some mentors, started connecting with a few people. And then I got the Central State head coach job and was there a couple years. And then when this position opened, what sparked my interest was the vice president of athletics, Tara Owens. She started this program or helped, get it off the ground, funding, and Dr. Anderson, our president. Tara Owens was the athletic director who hired me at Central State. And she believed in me enough to take over that men's and women's program there. And so I said, why not? I'm going to throw my name in the hat and go through the process and see what happens. And I am now here at the University of Maryland Eastern Shore. So my path is definitely unorthodox, but I definitely am grateful for this journey and wouldn't change it if I had a chance to go back.
No, that's amazing. You also helped start boys volleyball being sanctioned at Ohio, right? Did I read that correctly?
I did. Yes, I did. I was the president of the Ohio High School Boys Volleyball Association and helped get that sanctioned as an emergent sport. And before I left to become the Central State head coach, my high school team won the state championship.
That's amazing. I love that. No, that's awesome. Obviously, you are in the forefront of growing the sport of men's volleyball here in the United States. You literally are, and it's pretty awesome to see that. Growing up, obviously playing in California, volleyball is a lot bigger and as it is compared to the rest, but it's been exploding. I'm coaching club volleyball too right now for boys, and I run a girls club, but the boys have always had a soft spot in my heart because just because I got to play it, and it's had a massive impact in my life. And I just love to see that men's volleyball is the fastest growing sport here in the United States. And that's just pretty awesome.
It is. It's absolutely awesome.
Yeah, so starting a new D1 program from scratch, that's not a small feat. So today we're going to dive into just what that journey is. So really just jump into it. What were your first thoughts when you were offered the opportunity?
My first thought, I can't even express how I felt, to be honest. Gratitude. That's the first, every step along my journey and my career path, I've had nothing but gratitude. And then, to be given an opportunity to not just be a coach, but to be entrusted to start something from the foundation. I have nothing but gratitude and a great sense of responsibility. I have, it goes back to what I said before, like this is a calling for me. And so I take this very seriously, and I know that I have to not only represent University of Maryland Eastern Shore with, recruits and myself and my assistant, we have to represent this university to the best of our ability, but we also want to create a competitive team, culture, environment that is going to be something, years down the road that we can look back and say, look, we didn't just start it, we started strong. And that's something that I really take pride in.
I love that. And we talked about this earlier off camera, but you know, you're going into this program, there's no culture you're inheriting beforehand. You get the opportunity to set up what's important to you and what you want to instill in these athletes, and when people talk about your program, what do you want them to be saying? So how do you approach just like building a culture when there's just no blueprint?
It's basically, for me, I had to sit back and ask myself, what is it that you want this program to stand for? What are the values? What is the core focus of this program? Because I had to get that straight before I started going out recruiting. I couldn't just go out and say, "I want you to come play for this new program. Don't ask me what our values are or anything else because I don't know." I wanted to make sure I had all of those ducks in a row so that when I went up to recruits, I could tell them, definitively, we stand behind, I call it CIA, character, integrity, accountability. Those are our three main core values that I look for aside from talent. When I'm recruiting, I'm looking at character. How are you on the court with your teammates? And then how are you off the court with coaches and teammates? Are you someone who's coachable? Are you someone who high fives all your teammates? When you get pulled out of the game, are you mad? Are what is your demeanor? So I really look for those things, and I think that's kind of something that's helped set the standard for our program, and that's our slogan, "We are the standard." And so it's just setting those things in place and living those on a regular basis is something that was embedded from the beginning.
No, I love that. For all the coaches listening, that's the right way to go about it. Is you got to first look within and see what values matter to you, right? Before you really start get going, right? That starts with you as a coach, right? What matters to you before you can really start, making some big changes and affecting some kids' lives. And I absolutely love that. What's been the biggest challenges so far as the brand new head coach? Recruiting, funding, the facilities?
Well, I have to say, so from the funding aspect, First Point Volleyball Foundation, got to give a shout out there. John Speraw, Wade Gerard, the board members. Without First Point Volleyball Foundation and all that they do, we definitely would not be where we're at, along with Vice President Tara Owens and our president of University of Maryland Eastern Shore, Heidi Anderson. So from the funding aspect, that's really my gratitude to those folks because I wouldn't be here where I'm at and our program wouldn't be where we're at without those folks believing in us. I would say the biggest challenge was recruiting and not because of, lack of talent because you and I both know the talent's there. The talent's out there. I think for me it was how do I narrow down the talent? And it goes back to those core values. I really specifically spent time. I went to AAUs. I mean, I think I was hired in literally the week after it was time to go to nationals. And so I narrowed down the talent and I said, okay, I've got talent. Now I need to have individual phone conversations with these athletes. And so I did that, had conversations with them, just intros, then set up Zoom meetings with them and their parents, then brought them on campus. I did this kind of unorthodox as well in terms of what I typically would not do. I typically try to bring them on individually, but I brought them in groups and I did it on purpose because I wanted to see how they interacted. I said, let's see how this group, and I think we did 3 different recruiting groups. And so I said, let me see how this group does together and this group. And it was multiple recruits for the same position. So I wanted to see, I know, I
I love
know.
this.
There's no psychology behind it. It just I wanted to see how they interacted. And what's crazy is they interacted so well. It's like as if they knew each other. And it helped me with my decision on my end. And then once they had their visit, I did one more follow-up phone call because the first thing I wanted to stress was I get that this is a major decision for you. And I don't want you to just say yes because you want to commit somewhere. I want you to come see the campus, understand what our culture is here at an HBCU, understand what my philosophy is as a coach. I want to get to know you. Let's go through this process so that way you're not wondering, should I have given it more time or was there somewhere else I could have gone? And then I tell them, when it's time to make your decision, please pick up the phone. Don't text me. Don't email me. Just pick up the phone. And if your answer is no, then I'm going to support you either way because I want you to know, like, we want to grow this sport. And I just was very transparent throughout the process. Once the one yes came in, multiple yeses came in, and I really felt like I had my own fantasy volleyball league on the board in my office. And I was like, okay, I'm not crossing out any names yet. So it worked out so nicely. I think of all the offers, maybe 3 did not pan out. But, this team is exactly where they're supposed to be. And I'm excited about it.
Yeah, dude, you had to recruit a whole roster.
I did.
So, dude, I love the groups. I think obviously you're in a special situation because you did have to recruit so many athletes to get a whole roster together. But do you see yourself doing that in the future? Doing the groups?
Most likely not. It was very, where we're located, the airport, the closest airport to us is a regional airport, so we didn't fly anyone really in there. So, the other airports, DC and Baltimore, about hour to 2 hours away. So I definitely would not recommend myself doing that in the future. But, I think now that we've formed our roster going forward, it's just now it's filling holes, because the way we recruit it. So I won't have to fill big chunks of recruits.
No, absolutely. How many kids are on your roster?
18.
18, man. Crazy. That's 18 athletes, man. Well, I can that I can definitely see its own set of challenges. So, what does success look for you in year 1 and versus year 5?
So I would say year 1, it's all about laying the foundation, making sure that we are living, breathing the standard. And what's really cool about it is that I'm really big on player-led mentality. And so for me, I think a lot of people when they hear it, they think player-led mentality means you just let the athletes run everything. And that's not the case. It's basically where I told them from day one, this is your team. It's my program as the head coach. I'm responsible. But as the student athletes in this program, this is your team. And we're all responsible for the culture and the standards that we set forth. And so I think year one, it's all about just figuring out what those standards are, which we've done over the course of the past year before we even started. We did Zoom calls and we talked about what the standards were going to be. We talked about on and off the court what they were going to be, dress code to academic excellence to when we go to community service events to talking about our offensive, defensive schemes. We really laid that foundation. So that's year one. Year five, it's about that consistency from there. It's about winning championships. At that point, we should have a championship culture established. That's the goal.
Yeah, I love that. You're in the NEC conference?
Yes.
Awesome. No, that's going to be, dude, that's getting more and more competitive. I can't wait to see what year down the road, seeing where you guys are at. So, how would you define your coaching philosophy?
So my coaching philosophy is centered on developing the whole person. I'm really big on making sure that the athletes that get recruited understand I care about them as a whole person and not just the skill set and talent that they bring to the table. And what I mean by that is I care about physically, mentally, academically. I want to make sure that when they leave here and walk across that stage, they are equipped with the life skills that they need so that no one can look back and say, that Coach Brockman, she didn't do anything with that team. You know, we can win all we want, but I also want them to win in life. And I think that's important too. I want these young men to come in and be men of character, be men that have values and are proud of themselves for the accomplishments that they do on and off the court. And something that I really kind of press with them is that you were recruited for who you are, not what you do. And I need them to understand that even as they go on to the big adult world.
No, absolutely. Like that's what coaching's about. Because the reality is, how many of those kids are going to be playing professional men's volleyball? Probably a very small
Right.
amount. That's just the reality of it. So I love that the approach and is so much bigger than volleyball. The skills they're going to learn as athletes and a part of a team is going to be help them with their success in real life. And that's why I love team sports. I love team sports. The ability
Yes.
to have a boss, right? Someone you have to answer to, but also having coworkers, your teammates, right? Those are such invaluable social skills that you really just can't get anywhere else besides in team sports, in my opinion.
I agree 100%.
So you got to coach both men's and women's volleyball, whether the high school and collegiately. How's that shaped your approach as going into this?
You know, coaching both the men's and the women's, the game is different. Coaching, the men's and the women's, the sport's the same. The game's just different. I would say for me, coaching women, they're really big on connection and communication, whereas I feel like the men are big on autonomy and responsibility. And so I think what works with my coaching style and this specific team is that the player led mentality kind of feeds into the autonomy that they want and the responsibility, but then also I'm big on the communication. And so I just kind of try to tie in all of those and I want to meet them where they're at. I understand we're different generations. And so uh, you know, sometimes they do and say things that I'm like, "You know what? I don't even know what that means, but tell me what that means." And so we joke and laugh about things, but at the end of the day, they come in and they do what needs to be done, and I think for me, I just wanna make sure that I'm setting them up for success. Sometimes if that means that I have to back off a little bit on my approach to meet them where they're at, then so be it. And then they know that there are some things I'm not going to back off of, like our standards and decorum and professionalism, things like that. But outside of that, they're really a great core group of guys.
Yeah, I love that. I love the flexibility, but there are some values that are important to you. And I think again, that's for all coaches. Every team you're going to get, every kid you're going to get, they're all different. They're all their own individual person, and you have to recognize that. And I think the really good coaches are the ones who know what their values are, but maybe their approach with each athlete will always be different, and always have that flexibility, especially with the player centric approach. I think before it used to be, even when I played a little bit, when I was younger, especially when I played basketball and football, it was my way or the highway kind of mentality.
Yes. Yes.
I'm sure you have some coaches that you've been coached that had that kind of approach, and for some that's okay, and they'll respond to that. But in my experience, as the years have gone by, that does not work as well. I feel like more than often now, you're going to push a kid to quit if you have that kind of mentality. But I think having this player centric mentality is this approach is going to keep more athletes in the game.
Absolutely.
So what role does mental performance play in your program's development? I think that's such a huge piece now, that especially you see in social media with the mindset and mental health. I don't know if you saw the Penn State setter Izzy stepping away from the team, after winning a national championship. Obviously, you can't. It's a huge piece, this mental side.
Absolutely, and I tell you, when I was growing up, there was no focus on that. So it's there was, you had
Nothing.
you had mental health or, anything like that. It was you had coaches that told you, you gotta deal with it. Whatever you're dealing with, deal with it. And so I think it's so important. It's mental performance is a priority in our program. We start every practice with a mental performance tool. So what we typically will do is, and I center it around Navy SEALs training. So we do box breathing. I will typically use visualization. So for example, we just went and scrimmaged at Princeton this past, actually yesterday on Saturday. And prior to, in preparation for that scrimmage, all week long, we did visualizations, we did box breathing, I give them affirmations throughout practice, at the beginning and the end of practice, just to kind of reiterate that it's okay, that if you make a mistake, it's okay. Today I need you to just be 1% better. You don't need to be 100%, just 1%. So what's that 1% that you're going to focus on so that you're not stressing yourself out the entire practice that you messed up that swing, you messed up that pass, that set wasn't what you wanted. What was it that you were focusing on to get 1% better today? So we really kind of isolate down to that. And then aside from the mental performance tools, we meet with them weekly every Friday and we do mental health check-ins. We also check on their academics and then we talk about athletic performance, but we tell them from a mental health standpoint, 1 through 10, where are you at? And if anyone is below a 6, we ask them what resources can we provide for them, and we have resources on campus, but we also have a captain on our team, Kenyon Haynes, who is our mental health captain. So he's also someone that checks in. He's our grad student on the team, our sole grad student, but he also checks in with the guys too. So we really do try to make it a focal point because the game is, I don't know. I'm not a numbers person, but I would say over 80% mental, So I feel like it is a huge and important focus that should be in every program.
Yeah. How if you don't mind me asking, how have the athletes responded to some of these things? Because like especially the box breathing, the visualization, which I think is absolutely massive. Like the top athletes use visualization as a tool to help them be ready to perform. But young, some of them teenagers, right? How have have they been pretty open to this, or did it take kind of a little bit of time to like show them the benefits and get them to like buy in?
The buy-in has not been difficult at all from this group for anything that we do. This group's energy and buy-in to everything has really been refreshing, to be honest, especially when you come from other programs where, you didn't establish it. And so I think they're just excited to be here. They really were receptive. It's so funny because one session I decided to bring a I found a YouTube video and I played that, and they're like, "Coach, can you not play that video? We rather hear your voice than to," and I I just laughed because I thought, here I'm thinking I'm doing something by bringing in, like, something different so they're not hearing my voice all the time, but they're like, We'd rather just hear, like, your voice. We don't like that voice that was on that video," and so I said, "Okay. All right." So they're really receptive to it, especially the breathing aspect. I notice during practice, when we're working on serve and pass, I'll notice a couple of the guys doing their breathing. And so, yeah, I really think they're receptive to it. We'll see how it is by time, season hits and mid season where we're at.
No, I love it. I think the breathing's huge. Meditation, I'm a huge fan of, especially like my junior athletes I work with. I try to get them to at least be open to it. But I love that. I think that's you can't take away the mental part of it, because it just has a big effect on, in practice or maybe before you don't see it, but man, when things get tough and you have those tools, you at least know what you can do to deal with it.
Absolutely. I also think, athletes nowadays have so much more on their plates and minds. It's like that COVID swing. They have not just the academics, they've got some athletes work, some have a household, family situations that we don't know about, boyfriends, girlfriends. I mean, other issues and factors that are in there that as coaches we can't just assume that when they walk in the gym, they're 100% locked in on us. That's ideal. It's what we'd like to have happen, but, I try to tell them, "Touch the door and leave everything at the door," but, I mean, at the end of the day, they're also human beings, and if coaches don't show that they care about them, then like you said earlier, they'll lose their love for the game. They'll lose their faith and confidence in coaches because they'll think, well, coaches don't care about me outside of what I can contribute or produce on a stat line. So I really do think they've got a lot on their plates, and it's up to us as coaches to be responsible enough to know when to intervene and offer resources and find out what different things we can bring to the table to help them cope with everything being thrown at them.
Yeah, I would have to say the hardest part about being a coach is it's not the X's and O's, but it's the human aspect and seeing them as human first, then athletes. Because that's because you have no idea. No one knows in all our lives. No one knows what's going on besides you, right? You have the best, you know what's going on in your life, but it's hard for others to see that. And yeah, you don't know what's going on in their lives, in their home life, their relationship, their school, or what they're dealing with sometimes. And obviously, you want them to come into practice and hey, if you can, put that, leave it out the door. But realistically, that's not always possible. But as coaches, if we see them as humans first and give them some grace, sometimes if they have a bad practice and like, hey, just give them a little bit of grace, see let them have their space and keep on going and just keep an eye on it. I think that's huge.
Absolutely.
So what does it mean to you to lead the first HBCU D1 men's volleyball program?
It is the most impactful, amazing. I can't think of enough words to express how I feel to lead this program as the first Division I HBCU, to join the ranks in D1 2 with the other HBCUs, because I definitely could not go without mentioning, because I came from one of them previously. So, can't go without mentioning those HBCUs because, while we're the first in terms of being a traditional Division I, we're certainly not the first HBCU to contribute. And without those other HBCUs in the SIAC, I certainly don't think it would have helped us be able to join in there. But it means a great deal. I think to be in to have a platform of being a female coach in a male dominated space, it means a lot because I now have a responsibility to other young female coaches who want to be in my shoes to live up to that expectation and to show them that they too can be in this position. I also have a responsibility of making sure that I'm bringing in the right student athletes that will represent this program because there are going to be young little boys watching that will say that player looks just like me. I want to play just like him. If he can do it, I can do it. And so to have that type of impact and platform, it's definitely a great responsibility and something that I don't take for granted.
No, I love that. I think it's just awesome for the sport. How do you see this opening doors for more diversity in volleyball?
The doors are opening wider and wider every year. I think that more and more, the fact that there are six, I think, HBCUs that have, including us, I'm probably off on my number, but the
It's
fact
okay.
that they're, I know, under 10, we'll just say under 10, HBCUs that have it is huge. So I really hope that more HBCUs will consider adding it. I do hope that clubs, high schools, youth organizations will start adding it, especially in the underserved, underrepresented areas. I think that's important. You and I both know that from a standpoint, volleyball is not affordable. So
So
it's
expensive.
it is. And it's something that I think steers people away. I think they want to play, but because of household incomes and the way just life is lifing, it's just really difficult for people, families to commit to that type of financial commitment. I really would love to see, YMCAs and um, more nonprofits, opportunities. Kevin Pratt has a great foundation that he does that helps underrepresented athletes. So I just really think more people need to get involved that way because there are some talented athletes hiding somewhere, a diamond in the rough somewhere, and they can't play the sport because they can't afford it. And that's a kid that probably could play at this level but just can't get the resources or funds together to be able to do it. So I really would like to see more people reach out to underrepresented areas. But more importantly, I think we talk about diversity and I think it's great, but I think we need to stop talking and start doing. I think that action needs to go behind the words. And, I remember when I was at Central State, Kevin Birch at Ohio State reached out to me and we collabed on a camp together. And it was in an underrepresented area. And it was an amazing experience. The little kids were excited. The parents were excited. It was just something that was really great, and it was great to be able to collab with another D1 school to be able to do something like that. So I really think there's enough of us D1, D2, even D3 college coaches, NAIA included, that could get involved and continue to get more diversity in this sport if we all work together to do it.
Yeah, the financial barrier in club volleyball.
Yes.
Obviously, your kids went through it. If you don't mind me, in the Ohio area, how expensive was it? If you do you remember?
Um, I would say,
Ballpark?
well, and it's been, yeah, I would say probably between back at that point, 1,500 to 2,000.
Wow.
So I'm sure it's a lot more
Thank
now.
you. Oh yeah. It even when I played in like 2010, 2009, 2011, it was like 5 grand.
Jeez.
And that's without travel.
Yeah. Yeah. And that included like uniform package and all of that too, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that was like
Yeah.
uniform package, the practices, and like the tournament entry fees that each team has to do. That yeah, that did not include travel.
Yeah. See,
And
and definitely more if you're a national team versus, just a local
oh,
regional team.
oh,
Ugh.
I
Yeah.
run a girls volleyball club, and like our top teams are going to like Kansas City Triple Crown. I remember our 18s team a couple years ago. We went to Kansas City Triple Crown. Nationals for 18s was in Baltimore. We went to Salt Lake City, Sacramento. Yeah, and it was like it's crazy. The girls side
And see,
especially.
Ohio, we didn't go a lot of places.
Mm,
We didn't, like, do a lot. I think until my son's senior year was when they finally started going to Cali and obviously AAUs, but, Yeah, they stayed local. It wasn't that's probably why it was on the lower end, but yeah, you get out there and go to those bigger tournaments, it's definitely adding up.
No, absolutely. It was, yeah, it's crazy, especially on the girl side, how expensive, and that's, I know there's certainly some clubs out there, like Starlings is a really good example. I think they do a really great job trying to go into some of those underprivileged areas. They're a nonprofit, and they do their best to try to reach out to as many areas as possible to get volleyball going. I know Starling's a really good program. Uh, they have their own nationals. I don't know if you know this. They have it here in my facility in Irvine. So all the Starling teams from across the country, they come in and they have their own national tournament, which I think is pretty cool that they do in the end of the year. Uh,
It is.
but yeah, it's that is going to be an interesting bear, and hopefully we can continue to find ways to get inclusion for everyone to play this great sport.
Yes.
So what do you say to young Black athletes who might not see themselves in this sport yet?
I tell them you belong here. That's the first thing I will say, any young Black athlete wanting to be in this sport, you belong here. There is a space for you. The one thing I love about men's volleyball, especially since, I first started coaching on this side and then at the collegiate level, is how welcoming everyone is in the men's volleyball community. I mean, from coaches to players, just everyone. I have never felt more welcome. I remember when I got the Central State job and then now here, coaches reaching out left and right, asking if there's any resources they can provide. I've had mentors. So it's been amazing. So that's my words to young Black athletes wanting to play in a sport that may not seem like there's a lot of diversity right now. There's a space for you. You belong. And look at it, not just our team, but if you look at Cameron Thorne, you look at Jalen on CSUN. I can't think of his last name right now, but you look I know, Toby Ezeonu. You look at Jacob Pasture from Ohio State. There are players that have played this amazing sport that have been representative of young Black men, and I really hope that if any little boy or teenage player is wanting to get into this sport, you look at these athletes and you see yourself in them. And even if you don't, it should not deter you from playing a sport that you love to play. So my words to them are you belong. You belong. There is a space for you.
No, absolutely. I think you hit it so well that thing, just like the culture of men's volleyball. Like I grew up playing basketball and football, and in high school, after high school basketball, it was in the spring. Because is volleyball a spring sport in Ohio?
Yes.
Awesome. So I played basketball my freshman year, and after the basketball season in the winter, the JV volleyball coach for the boys team came into our gym and asked, "Hey, is there any like tall players who want to play volleyball?" And I'm like, "Dude, I'll get out of running. I will go play volleyball." Never played before, and man, dude, the culture shock was crazy. Like, man, everyone was so nice. Everyone was like so inclusive, and it was weird, for me coming from basketball and football, which is such a different mentality. But that's what drew me to the sport. And eventually I quit playing basketball and I went to just do volleyball full time. And that was my sole focus, and eventually started playing club. But it was just that, it's just the thing that I just love about this sport. The men's or the women's side is just this inclusion and this willingness to bring people in, and just, man, how nice and awesome the people were. That's obviously this playing the sport was so much fun, but it was really the people that really drew me into the sport.
Absolutely. You can go, months without seeing someone, and it's as if you just saw them yesterday. You pick up a conversation as if you had just left off from the last time you saw him. I look forward to going to like the AVCA convention and, the national championship and seeing my coaching colleagues because we catch up and even just doing checks and emails. Hey, how's it going? Anything you need? It really does mean a lot. And I think for the athletes watching them play, and just getting after it on the court. But, the sportsmanship is unreal. It's unreal. It's going across the net and say, "Hey, man, are you good?" Even, if you get spiked in the head, like it's just somebody's going across the net and saying, "Hey, are you okay?" And when the game's over, it's like, okay, you can't tell which team lost because they're high-fiving and talking like they've known each other.
Yeah, yeah, you see it also like in AAUs, like the boys side, man, it's crazy. Everyone coming together, and you see it in the trading of the shorts and jerseys. Like this
Yeah,
culture, man, is so unique and so awesome.
it is.
So let's talk about a little bit about your recruiting philosophy. You talked about it a little bit of the players you just want to attract at UMSC, UMES. So like, what kind of player fits that culture that you're trying to build?
So, my recruiting philosophy is one of I'm looking at character first, and then I'm gonna look at your skill set. You could be the most dominating outside hitter there is, but if you are rude or nasty or just don't have that character that fits our culture, I'm not willing to take that sacrifice, that hit to our culture to bring someone in like that. It's not worth it. And I know some coaches are willing to do that. That's where I don't bend. I don't bend because I really truly believe if you bring in one bad apple, it'll spoil the whole bunch. And so I'm really big on the character piece. But then outside of that, uh, you know, outside of that, I am looking at the skill set. I'm looking at, are you someone that is a six rotation? I'm really big on that because we only get six subs. I can't bring in a team full of players that can't pass but can hit. We'll struggle. So I'm really big on making sure, are you a six rotation? Are you coachable? What's your, in terms of your IQ, where are you at? Because let's be real, everyone wants to play at Division I, but we can't bring everyone in, especially now that we all have some of us have roster limits. So you just have to be really particular about the type of player you're bringing in. I don't always look at height alone, but it's not, if they're taller than me, I always say you're tall. I'm 5'6", so
Oh, there we go.
anybody taller than me, right? Anybody taller than me, you're good to go. But height doesn't necessarily play a huge factor. I mean, I have a couple guys on the team who are 5'10", 5'11", but they jump out of the gym. One of my guys is from Cali. He has the highest vert on the team. He's at a 48. So I just
You say 48?
yes, yes,
How high
yes.
is he touching?
You know what? I don't know.
Dude, that is insane.
Yeah, I
48.
don't know.
Whew.
It is. It is. He's from Cali. So just and he's a straight baller. I think what I look for are athletes who are gonna come in, have an impact, especially as we're going forward. I'm not looking to fill a big roster any longer. It's now gonna be 1 or 2 each year. So, as I'm looking to fill those holes, I definitely have to bring in guys that are going to be stronger than what I have, but also be able to come in and make an immediate impact.
No, absolutely. Has I'm just curious, recruiting process. Have you ever like walked around and you were interested in an athlete, but maybe their parents were acting a certain way and turned you off a little bit? Has that ever happened to you?
Yes, yes, several times. I think and sometimes I did not know that it was that their parents were there or who their parents were, because sometimes I'll sit around the parents, and then I'll hear parents, and it's like, "Whose parent is that?" And then I'll wait, and I'm like, "Oh, no." It's not the young man I'm trying to recruit. It's so it has happened before where I've had a parent cussing a ref out. I've had parents coaching their kid, being nasty to their kid. So yeah, I've definitely I'm like, please don't let this be who I'm trying to recruit. I've had that happen, but knock on wood, I did not have it happen during this recruiting process at all. The parents and the players match up perfectly. It all worked out the way it was supposed to. But yeah, I've had that happen. I've even heard from colleagues kind of some of the stories they've had, and it's like, oh
No,
boy,
everyone has their stories
absolutely.
when it comes to that. Yeah, parents really got to watch out for the especially like yelling at the refs. Like, I don't think they realize like without them, we can't do this.
Right, right, and they're human, I
Exactly.
mean, as a coach, do I get frustrated? Absolutely, I'm not gonna say I don't, but, they're human and we have to understand. Because I tell you what, when I had to ref when I was a club coach, that was the most stressful thing ever. I said, "I'll do anything but down ref." I did not want to down ref. I actually would rather do the book. Which is sounds crazy, but I'd rather keep book than down ref because you just knew no matter what you called or didn't call, you're gonna get yelled at. So I commend the officials for sure.
Yeah. No, it's crazy. Even like in club tournaments, I used to coach this was years ago, a U12 team. And man, dude, parents would yell at a U12 line judge about like if it was in or I'm like, oh my God, like that's someone's kid.
Right.
And it's
Right. They're 12.
crazy. Yeah, they're 12, like they're 11. They're like, dude, they're like little kids. And dude, parents would get just too much. Sometimes especially when it comes to like the little kids, that's when I get really is like, please stop talking
Yeah,
to these
I agree.
athletes.
I agree.
So what are like obviously you're in Division One. What are some like the biggest misconceptions athletes have about playing at the next level?
I think for me, one of the biggest misconceptions is that they think that the hardest part was getting recruited. From day one, our first practice, I told the team the easy part was getting recruited. The hardest part is going to be what you're about to do these next few months during our fall training. And I think it's like a reality check for some of them because some of them, they don't know what they don't know until they right? And so they get there and it's like, whoa, uh, I didn't know that. And so I think also teaching them to unlearn what they learned maybe through club or high school, because I get what you learned through club or high school is what you know, but our systems may be different. Structure may be different. So we need you to unlearn that so that you can learn all of this stuff that we're about to go over, because I think that is probably the most challenging piece of a brand new program is getting all 18 players on the same page with your defensive, offensive schemes, your philosophy on serving, your philosophy on, just the structure of how practices go and getting them all on the same page for that. So, yeah, I definitely the biggest misconception is that the easy part is
Is after
being
recruiting.
there. Yeah, yeah,
No,
yeah.
you brought up such a good point about the systems and where they're coming from and especially as a first year program. Honestly, after this year, I'm gonna throw out a prediction. After this year, I think it's gonna be a lot easier. Just in my opinion, because then you're gonna have kids who are already in the system who know everything. So when you add that one or two kids, they'll subconsciously start guiding them and like, "Okay, this is how we do things," right? Because they've already been in it. And then year after year after year, the older players who've been playing for you for years, who've been running the system, know everything, like, I'm gonna guess it's gonna get a lot easier for you after a while. I definitely think when it comes to systems, getting those are so important. Defensive systems, serving, how do we, handle timeouts, right? Whether you wanna go
Yeah,
into little groups or, "Hey, how we want to be lined up or hey, we're going to be in a circle. Hey, you're going to go to the bench. The water's going to be like, there's so many things you have to establish. But again, over time, that once you have them in place, it's going to be so much smoother. Hopefully.
and I can't wait. I'm not trying to rush that process, but definitely can't wait to see that come to fruition.
Yeah. You see that even in the club level or the high school level, like just as, maybe you have a team that's been together and then you have these new kids who played for other clubs, but once they get in and they can see the others and it just, yeah, in my experience, it's been a lot smoother after years come together. So how will UMES differentiate itself from other D1 programs?
Well, it's that one's difficult to answer because I can't, I definitely can't compare us to anyone else, but I think that that probably is the answer. That's the best answer I can give you is that how we are going to separate ourselves or be different from the other programs is just that we are different. We are unique, being that we are an HBCU. We've got the HBCU culture, we've got, just a lot of different, I would say, what's the best way of saying it? Just a lot of different things coming at us than I would say, a UCLA or a Long Beach because they're a well-established, beast. So it's I think for us, we have the foundation, and I think right now my focus is on just continuing to stack it day by day, brick by brick, making sure that we are getting to the point to where we can be competitive in the NEC. And then from a national standpoint, you know, yesterday competing at Princeton, it was a huge tournament for us, and the guys did an amazing job. We played 2 sets. It was like pool play, so we played a total of 17 sets on the day. It was
Did you say
crazy, long
17?
day, 17 total
That's
sets.
that's longer than club tournament.
Which, my goodness, it was a long day, but, out of that day, we took a set from Princeton, we took a set from George Mason, and, we took a set from NJIT, which we played 1 set. So, it was, the first round, it was 2 sets, and then round 2 or quarterfinals, it was 1 set to 25. So, just to be able to play against those teams, and I think the most amazing feeling when we were playing NJIT, Sacred Heart and Baruch, they got done on their court and they started cheering for us.
That
It was
men's
I
volleyball.
remember looking at my assistant, right? And I said, "Look at this." I said, "I wish that we could capture this right now." You can kinda see it a little bit in our, huddle film that we took, but it was like, I looked around the gym and I said, "Look at this. They're literally circled around our court cheering for us right now." So it just yeah, I think what differentiates us is just we're like the little brother of Division I, but we're not the little brother that's going to be quiet. We're going to be the little brother that's going to make some noise, and we're going to come in there and say, "Hey, we know it's our first year, but that doesn't mean that we're sitting back saying we're going to take some L's. It means we're going to fight
Take
throughout
some
our season
swings.
and yeah, absolutely, and be competitive and fight." So yeah, that's really what I think that separates us right now.
I love that. What's your long-term vision for UMES men's volleyball?
We want to win championships. We want to be up there in the ranks with the UCLA's, the Long Beach. We want to be up there with those teams, and it 10 years from now, I want to be able to look back and say, "Look what we built from the ground up." To be able to say, "Look how many kids we got to walk across the stage and graduate. Look how many of these young men are playing professionally." I want to create an environment where we've got kids from all over that want to come here. And I think these guys are doing a tremendous job of already establishing that culture and getting our name out there. I want us to have that national recognition, not just because of men's volleyball, but because it's men's volleyball at the University of Maryland Eastern Shore, and because we're an HBCU, we wanna be able to make strides similar to what Fort Valley did, but, we wanna do it on our own mark too.
I love that. So obviously you're building in a brand new program. What if you could give advice to other coaches trying to just build something new, what would it be?
Remember your why. Remember your why. Don't don't forget why you started coaching, because I think at the end of the day, if as coaches we lose sight of that, then anything else we're trying to do won't matter. So remember your why, stand firm in what you want to see, your vision, stand firm in it. If you don't believe in it, you're not going to get athletes to believe or buy into it. So you definitely have to be strong in your vision, know what your vision is, build a culture so unbreakable that the athletes coming in will be able to tell other athletes coming in, this is not how we do it in our program, or this is how we do it. A coach shouldn't have to say that. And then just, believe in yourself. I think at the end of the day, as coaches, we're human, and we also need to take that time to mentally train ourselves, physically get ourselves where we need to be so that we can be the best coach, mentor, counselor, all the hats that we wear for our athletes.
No, I love that. Yeah, you're right. I think it just starts with you, right? It starts, you have to look in yourself and see what matters to you and what your, like you said, what your why is and, what your philosophy is, because that's going to guide you. You're right. And any big decision that you need to make, what is your philosophy? What do you believe in? Because that's when things get tough, you can always lean back to that and whatever decision you make is going to be the right one. That's what it comes down to. But that's it, dude. Thank you so much, Dr. Brockman. I'm so happy that you were able to come on. I know I'm going to be following you guys this season and I can't wait. Your first match is officially when?
Our first match is officially in Puerto Rico on January 5th. We play in Puerto Rico, but our first home game is January 14th against Virginia Wesleyan.
That's awesome. Well, I will definitely be watching you guys. I know you guys are going to be playing against some big schools and big teams, but I'm really, really excited to see not only your first year as a head coach here at this program, but the years to come.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me on, Alejandro. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. I'll make sure to add your Instagram and your program's information at the bottom of the description of this video. But thank you again so much. Good luck with this season, and hopefully we can talk again soon.
Thank you.